Welcome to today's Satsang at the Hariakandi Universal Ashram with Sri Mahaprabhuji and the Divine Mother. We're grateful to be here with you and have our special guest today of Pujari and Hiroman. We also have Ramlota here and Claire, and all of you are special guests. But the focus today is to dive deeper even. We've heard many beautiful stories, and I'm sure we'll hear more. But what do these experiences mean to us in our lives now, in the present time? How do we keep them alive? How do we really live Babaji's teaching? So I turn it over to Pujari, because he's top on the left on my screen. So thank you.
Okay. Oh, that's like a question. How is it if on the top of my head what's going on, if I remember at this moment Babaji in my daily life, it is just mostly just to be in the moment, just to be here, just to be here, just to be here. That is like my practice. Even if I walk to my sleeping room or to the toilet or to the puja room and around the house I'm working, it is very challenging. I remember even in Babaji's time, I was asking Loknath one time when I was pretty new and he was there. I said, "Oh, but how do you do that?" No, Babaji said you have to do karma yoga, but also with the mantra. He said, "Yeah, boo, that's very difficult, but we have to try." It is very challenging to move through life with that inner presence. So that's can say almost my main challenge and sadhana. It's not only if I sit and pray and sing in our temple room, but then if I move through the day, that I keep this inner wakefulness alive and not be too attached to what's happening outside. You just quietly move through life, but more be concentrated inside than outside. That is at the moment, I think, my main sadhana. And I must say, I've learned that very much also in the presence of Muniraji, walking through Haldwani. I lived with him for some time. And then when he would walk to his shop, he was so present, walking through this busy lanes in Haldwani, but he would be very quietly moving through it, wave at this person, just walk on, buy some vegetables. But I could see there is such a presence in him. And even my thinking would stop. With him, I learned a lot about don't think, just be here. Don't think, just be here. And that's still very much my sadhana. If you speak about what is Babaji, how is he alive in your daily practice, this is the main thing for me. And I sustain it by doing morning, evening, my puja. I do a little fire ritual. I sing. I was just singing part of Arti and the Hanuman Chalisa with Anjani. And these little things we do to keep the presence alive. And then we look together outside. We saw that some birds came back just now after the winter time, and we are enjoying these little gifts from nature. How the divine is expressing itself all the time. So
Pranav,
we are surrounded by the divine, but to keep
it in
Kado, mute Karo. This is Lalita.
Okay, she muted. Okay, great.
So, but that again, this inner presence is for me the challenging and the safe line or the connection with Babaji in the daily going through the days. I must say, you know, if you're in devotion, it is like extra. It's just sometimes ecstasy or even boring. It can be, but that is like the basic sadhana of keeping the connection, but to not get lost on the outside. Whatever the drama is, if it's with COVID or now many people dying in India, this Mahakranti is taking shape. So it is a very challenging for us to just accept what's happening, surrender to what's happening, accept what's happening. And that is, for me, the most intensive practice, I can say. Yeah.
Thank you. Hiroman, do you want to speak a little bit about that or something else that touches you?
Well, I think I would kind of
repeat in maybe slightly different ways, but in the same essence, what Pujari is just saying. And to me, that is also the most important aspect of relationship with Baba and life, is that, you know, our meditation is not just when we sit on a cushion, it's every breath, all through our day. And of course, we forget to breathe sometimes, but we still start breathing again. You know, we just, with Babaji, he would give us all the direction we needed. And sometimes if we didn't listen clearly enough, then we'd go from there, you know. It sometimes could be a fiasco, but then we'd pick up the pieces up and go from that point. And he was right with us, is right with us all the time. And so for me also, as Pujari was saying, just the moments of life, you know, like Pujari was talking about birds yesterday. I noticed the first birds starting to sing at 4:11 in the morning. I just happened to look at the time when I heard the first bird. And it's like, we're reminded by this wonderful existence around us at every moment to be present. It's just that when we get caught up with our mind and what we think is important, sometimes we forget that everything is important. Every moment is important. Every moment of presence is a gift. Last week, when Sitarami was on, it was lovely. I had my phone on and I couldn't really communicate back very well, but I could hear. And I think Brigitte asked Sitarami, or asked someone else, or Pansing, I think it was, who was carrying Babaji across the river. Why did Babaji ask you to carry him across the river? And Baba gave us all these moments that we could experience joy and love. Like, to carry him across the river was not for him, it was for us. And he partook in it also, the joy in his face. And he just gave us all these moments to have joy. And we still have all these moments with him to have joy. And we have all these moments in life to be happy and have joy, even when things are difficult. You know, if we don't get so wrapped up in the shoulda, woulda, couldas and just be, then the joy is overwhelming. And to me, that's practice. Be happy, practice, be good, be kind, work, live. That's the practice.
So does anyone have a question? Or Ramlota, do you have anything you would like to add?
So I have a question.
Okay, Mohan beat you, Ramlota. Go ahead, Mohan.
Sorry, Ramlota, if you want to go ahead, I'm fine with that too. So
Please, you go.
okay, thank you. So the moments when you realize that what Babaji was doing is for all of us, and he is giving us the joy. And how does that reflect when you do something for somebody else? And when does that come into your mind, that I need to be like him, or I need to be maybe at a different scale or whatever, but not asking, okay, carry me, but in a different way?
Well, if I can respond first, I don't think we are aiming to become anything. It is more an emptying and to be a servant feeling of connectedness to the divine, and an automatic serving. We have such different karmas that the one becomes a pujari, the other one becomes an army man. I believe that is mostly destined. And Babaji could see that. He could even point out, and he did point out to me several things, what I would do 10 years later or 20 years later. So I'm through these things, I'm convinced that it's destined. No, it is destined that you sit here on that chair to be part of this satsang, and it's destined that we are as a group together now somehow. So we just have to learn to relax into it, because ultimately there is, in the greatest teaching from Baba, there's no me and mine, and there's not really a doer. To realize that, I think we all have still quite a way to walk. There might be moments that we can experience that, but to fully grasp that reality, that you're really not the doer of your life, you're maybe the witness or the experiencer, but we want to go deeper to that connection where Babaji lived. Now, we could see with Babaji there was no thinking. I've never seen that Babaji was emotionally troubled or thinking about anything. He was just naturally in the moment, like a child, really like a 1, 2, 3-year-old child. In that beauty and innocence, he would pick his nose, he would jump down the stairs, how a child can jump on the road happy, the same happiness Baba had. So I don't know how we're going to get there. You cannot teach it to somebody else. It is only the unraveling of our own blockages. No, we've been somehow formed by culture, nature, parents, schooling to become a stiff, stupid human being. And Babaji showed that is not necessary. The plan for the human being is to be a very beautiful child, almost like, how can I say it? I think you understand what I mean. The naturalness of a human being is so beautiful. It's really like a 3-year-old child that can grow up the right way. And Babaji showed that he was like a 3-year-old child, but at the same time grown up. He didn't have a mind that troubled him to not express the joy or to be frustrated about anything, because there was no desire. Yeah, I leave it there. It is just too much to speak about how Babaji lived, but I just mentioned some things that were obvious. I think the same for Ramlota or for Hiroman and Ramlota. If we've been around that being, that is, you can see this is not human. We cannot grasp what is expressing through this being. Again, I can say Babaji was like this purest mirror, and I often and still now see that a mirror doesn't make an effort. And with Babaji, it was also, he was effortlessly, playfully, could only mirror what was in front of him. If it was a nasty human being, or you were in a nasty state of presence or in your mind, he could only mirror that. That was happening naturally and automatic. And that was so exciting in one way to look how Babaji, everybody different expressions, he would know on a cellular level who we were and what our karmas were. And it is like an amazing experience to be around a being with that kind of consciousness that doesn't know only my situation, but at the same time, all the peoples who were in that hall, or you can even say around the world. He could connect and know what's going on with Ramlota in America if he would be sitting in Hirokan. That's like his qualities of presence is beyond imagination. So I cannot even really try to go there. I try to go there now a little bit, but it is overwhelming to try to describe the presence of Babaji. It is like it's universal consciousness. And at the same time, there's a body, but the body was just a play. He played with us through that body. And he often said, I'm only acting. No, it was not, Babaji was something completely beyond the body. But at the same time, he played with us through that body. Jai Bole Babaji.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hiroman, do you have anything to add to that, or Ramlota?
Go ahead, Ramlota, if you want to.
I can only subscribe all what my brothers said. You know, I think the scriptures say, you know, that what Baba is also our true self. Huh? So this thing, I don't know how to say, lives constantly with us. It's all, probably is the only thing that we can really say it is. He is. All the rest is quite dubious, this personality we have, or this thing, our names, this come and go. No, when we go to sleep, we forget everything. Then we wake up in the morning and comes again. So the question for me is: it is possible to live without an I, without a me, without being a slave of my thoughts, of my idea, of my concepts? I think it is possible. No? With Baba Grace, I experimented also longer stretches of time where I just was, and I was nothing, no one. And it's an incredible experience to be no one, because then everything is incredibly alive. Every little stone, like you were saying, the birds who sings, that leaf on a tree, the flower, everything is incredibly alive. And I think that Baba was constantly living in that state. And it is an incredible grace. And so, of course, my sadhana also now is this, we have to get rid of this I, gently, because you cannot force you cannot force it. If you make an effort, it becomes another mistake on top of it. So somehow, it is. It just came to my mind now the beautiful definition of truth, simplicity, and love. Satya Saralata Prem. I found in the book of Mahendra Baba, and he said, truth means what the mind thinks, the mouth says, the body does. So not big truth, but like an integration, to be whole. So practicing, one becomes simple. Then maybe loves come. So our job now maybe is this kind of practice. Then whatever happens is completely out of our potential. Now we cannot do it. We have just to keep clean our mirror. We have to clean our mirror. This is all we can do. Now then the rest is beyond us, I feel.
Thank you, Ramlota. Thank you. Hiroman, it's a big question.
In some ways, it's the only question.
Yeah.
Sometimes we start out needing the I, but we have to remember and remind ourselves all the time that the I is a we, that we are part of everything. And if we need to use the I to get in motion, and then we can use that, but we have to remember that we're not the doer. We're never the doer. Even when we think we're doing great things, it's nothing. We're not the doer. We participate in the we. And that's a great goodness to just to be in the moment. Pujari was talking about Muniraji, and Muniraji was just like exemplified that so perfectly, just in such a sweet, solid, present way.
Does somebody else have a question? Hi, Gayatri, I see you got on. If you have things to share, please do so.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm late. I was on a Samaj meeting.
Ah,
So I jumped over, but I think Makan jumped over with me because I sent him the link and I see his name. So yay,
right.
Makan.
Makan, great to
Yeah.
see you.
Yeah, I told him we're going to get him on one of these calls.
Yes,
Good
I've been thinking of Makan. Yes, and I
morning, everybody, and apologies for being late.
yeah, and there's Lalita, there's Makan, and Laura. Great. I think Rita's here. So wonderful. So does anybody have more questions or comments about what we've been
Yes.
talking about?
I have a question.
Okay. I'm sorry.
No,
Go
no,
ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, please.
No, you please go ahead. I'll ask later.
Okay. So I have a question to all of you. I know that Babaji was asked about Kriya Yoga. Can they be taught? The person could be taught Kriya Yoga. And he said there's no Kriya Yoga, it's only Om Namah Shivaya. But I still wanted to know, somebody was asking him anyway, was insisting, and he said, okay, if you wish to learn this, I'll teach you. That's what I understood or read somewhere. I hope I'm not wrong in this, but I was wondering, did he teach any kind of pranayam or any special kind of meditation?
Shall I go first to try to answer a part of your question?
Sure.
Brigitte?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because I'm just compiling a booklet about Babaji's teaching, and the chapter about Karma Yoga I also addressed in the first part what Babaji said about Kriya Yoga, because mostly he said it is not the time for Kriya Yoga. Now everything is Kriya Yoga. If you're breathing, if you're eating, if you're walking, if you're working, if you do puja, it is all Kriya Yoga. And now the time is for Karma Yoga. I want soldiers to be Karma Yogis. So he kind of quite clearly discouraged us to have an interest in Kriya Yoga as a separate thing. He wanted us to understand that everything is Kriya Yoga. That's the message he gave to us. And there might be a specific sadhana that I've heard that he might have given to somebody, and that means maybe really all kinds of pranayamas and exercises to have energy experiences inside, outside the body. But for the common teaching that Babaji gave to like his message to the world was, it's not the time for Kriya Yoga. It's time for Karma Yoga, and you have to realize that every second is what if you're active, you have to realize you're doing Kriya Yoga. So I leave it there, but that was his main message that I've distilled from the Babaji teaching book.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He's also told me, Bridget, that the time for Kriya Yoga is past, and it's a time for Karma Yoga. And japa.
Was it maybe to understand, to prepare us for the Kranti?
I believe so.
And also just to prepare us just for every moment. You know, it's like we as humans, we have such a tendency to want to be in the future or in the past, but what Baba was teaching us all the time is just be in the moment. Just be in the moment, and everything is there.
Yeah, that's the hard thing for most of us, because
Yeah,
we live a lot in the past and in the future, and not so often in the present moment.
So we just keep reminding ourselves when we're not in the moment, we notice it and we get back to the moment. It's a meditation, a practice.
Yeah.
And like any practice, the more we do it, the better we get at it.
And when I find myself out of the moment, I use my mantra. I'm just so grateful for the mantra. because it really helps me come back to sanity. I can go pretty insane in my mind sometimes.
That was very well said.
I know
Yeah,
when
that is-
Raghu. Go ahead,
Go
Pujari.
ahead. Yeah, but I wanted to say, well, just repeat also a little bit what Ramlota said. His practice was to be in the moment. And that is the main thing. It's like either you're in your mind, you take that one serious, or you come to the moment and be with the joy of life, you can say almost. No, it is a whole other dimension is always there if we can like almost not give to the importance to the mental levels. If we can just stay in the present moment with the help of the mantra, with the help of the breath, or just with the inner presence, I think that's the clue to get out of the painful field, Brigitte, to see we're all struggling there, no? When we know how painful it is, if we're just in this automatic mind mode and we truly believe that this is me and this is my life and my problems, it is such a not the way to go. And we've seen physically with Babaji that Babaji was never there. It is really, if we want to become spiritual, it's number one is to not take our mind serious. No, the samskaras who that eat up this brain. It is we have to, by presence, free us from that prison. Yeah, I give it to you, Hiroman.
Well, I was just thinking how, during a while back, Raghu had encouraged us all to do jop in 108,000 rounds, I think. And I just wonder if anybody else felt the same, realizing how much, like I had never really counted doing jop. You know, I didn't all day long. I tried to be in Om Namah Shivaya. And so after Raghu had brought that up, I spent one day, I just counted how many times I actually was doing Om Namah Shivaya. And it was in the thousands, that just in a normal day. And there's something about just doing something without the counting can be, like I was saying earlier, sometimes we need to be in the eye to get moving, but we have to remember that that's a transition, and we're going to grow out of being in the eye, and we're going to be in the moment. And sometimes keeping track of things and counting and all that gets us out of the moment. So if we just do live life, be happy, be full, the moments they just arise on their own. You don't have to be struggling to be in the moment. We are in the moment.
Is this also something to do with trust? Having trust and faith?
Yeah.
Because then you do let go.
Yeah.
If one has perfect trust and faith, its work is done.
Yeah.
I want to add something, if it's okay.
Yeah.
To that question. We talk about living in the moment, but I think it's really helpful to look at why the mind jumps to the past or to the future, and very rarely we are in the moment. And I think that's because, well, the mind's trying to pull you into something, into some false semblance of control. So if it takes you to the past and you can, go over what happened or what you think about it, or the future, what's going to happen, I think it's clear that if you look at it closely, we're very uncomfortable in the unknown, in that emptiness. which is full, but initially, especially for the mind and the ego, it feels empty, and that's uncomfortable. And it's because we don't have control there. We don't have something solid to grasp. So I think it's really helpful to embrace the unknown as a practice, to get comfortable in the not knowing. I mean, if you look at it, really, we don't know anything anyway. We may think we do, but we really don't. Does anybody really think they know what's going on here and how it came to be and how it operates? No. And if we have the humbleness to admit that, you know, then the next step can come. Well, what is that? Let's embrace it. Let's hang out there. And the mind doesn't want to hang out there because the mind doesn't have a role there. It doesn't have something to bite into. So I think that it's really important. That's why Babaji had us working. It kept us physically busy. And he gave us the mantra so that then when the mind's freaking and I want to think this, I want to think that, just the mantra keeps you present. And it actually, there's a vibration that can permeate the cells. You know, after Babaji, I did a lot of reading of the Mother's Agenda from Sri Aurobindo, her whole volumes, because she was working on transformation and evolution. She believed that all of us could evolve into what we witnessed as Babaji, as a supplemental being in touch with eternity. So that was her sadhana. And she gave the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate. The mantra, the actual mantra, you know, okay, Babaji said Om Namah Shivaya was the most potent, but her practice was to get her cells of her body saying the mantra, because she felt that once we're kept together, our cells are kept together because the mind is their boss. The mind is the chairman of the board. And so that's why when the mind gets twisted, the body gets sick. If you stress out too much, your body is going to get nervous, whatever. Your cells are following the mind. So when you take that mind out of controlling, you need to give it something else. You need to give the cells something else to keep them cohesive and operating. And so she believed that you get your cells to repeat the mantra. And that over and over and over again gives them a cohesive force. So when the mind stops, the body still stays together, and it has a higher chairman. It has a unified field. So anyway, I found that fascinating. Babaji led me to her work after Samadhi, and I studied her work for years and years. And I even brought, how many, 50 books of Saprem about the supplemental to Schweibenop for a Guru Purnima. I was so thrilled. I was like, here, giving them out to everybody, because I was like, this is our yoga. Anyway, I think that it's interesting if you don't understand what it is that makes the mind dwell in the past or the future, or even give you tons of problems. If you don't understand what the impulse, then if you can't sweep it under the rug and hope that you're going to have success with your japa or whatever. So I did my own searching a lot with Isaac, who Pujari turned me on to, a teacher, and a lot of investigating into why these, what's the impulse. And when I could see that, I'm not very comfortable hanging out in the unknown, then that became my practice, to embrace it and get comfortable there and not need, and recognize already that I don't know what I think I know. That was also part of it. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents to add to you, Brigitte. So
yeah, it makes very much sense. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
That was very helpful.
I would like
And
to
then
add that
we have
it,
somebody
in
who asked a
Babaji's
question.
presence, that's also what Hiroman was referring to in another satsang, that Babaji guides us to that place where there is no mind, especially in the mornings, because they say the mornings are sattvic and then the days get rajas and the evenings get tamasic. No, you know that you get a peaceful state, you get activated, and you get you fall down on the bed. But in that morning state, if we go like 4:30, we go to Babaji's kutir in Hirakan, and to just he applied chandan on you, and you sit there outside on the patio in front of his little fireplace under the peepal tree. The same, the birds slowly wake up, the river is flowing. There was no mind. And it was not an effort to have no mind. It was, I think, for everybody around Babaji, automatically we had no mind. But all our senses were completely happy, referring to Gayatri's things. Many things, the senses are not happy. So the mind starts to work. How can we make you happy? In that setting, everything was perfect. It tasted good, it smelled good, the vision was good, what we hear is beautiful. So we were just comfortable in the divine presence. And Babaji put us in that place where we didn't need to think, there was no problem. So we hang out there at least half an hour, 45 minutes a day around Babaji in the early morning in this pure sattvic space. And that is such a memory for me that I try to get there now in my little sadhana in the morning to just walk outside and then sit in my puja room, walk outside, see the sun come up. And also automatically I experience that kind of no mind state, because we're always there somehow. But again, if the day starts and we start to plan our day, or if we believe the mind, then yeah, that's the tipping point. Now, are we able to stay as presence throughout the day? That's why I said before, that's my sadhana. And I hear Ramlota has been saying the same thing. And I'm wondering how Gayatri is doing that through the day, because that is the main practice from how we stay present without giving too much attention to the mind. No? And that's for everybody a different, I think, level of grace that we can tap into. But ultimately we are one presence. It is not my presence and Gayatri's presence and Hiroman's presence. There is only one presence. And that's where we love each other so much, because through presence, which is not mind, we feel love. Through mind, we don't feel love. But I love Gayatri or Hiroman or anybody or Brigitte through presence. Yeah.
I don't want to forget that Lalita had a question, guys.
Okay.
Bhole Baba ki jai.
Yay.
Jay.
Oh, I think my question has been already answered. So,
Jay.
yeah, it was lovely. It was lovely. I've got many insights, and I have realized certain things in last 6-7 months, because as Baba had this entry into my life, so along came the chaos around COVID and everything that is happening, and it is like in its worst state, very bad state in India. And if I was just the person I used to be before Baba entered my life, I would have gone crazy by now. I find solace that he's in me, he's around me, and I have him to go to when I'm upset. I have his lap to sit in when I want to cry. I have his shoulders to put my head on, and I have his smiling face to look at when I want to have some energy to just go through the day and spend each day as it comes. Otherwise, I would have really, many people would have gone crazy. Many people have already gone crazy. These are crazy times. And as Baba came, so came the knowledge of Kranti also. So this feeling of having a God by your side and doomsday, approaching you, it's really confusing. And I'm blessed that he has showered his love on me. I'm blessed that I've got company of his bhakts. And I'm blessed that I'm getting to hear all your experiences, and whatever doubts arise in my mind or heart, they just keep getting solved, and the love is increasing every day, and it's overwhelming.
Yay.
And I love you all. I love you all.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
can say the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of love. Bole Baba ki jai.
Jai, 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 Lalita.
Jai.
You guys are reminding me of a story. It's
Yeah.
quick. One day I had a sinus infection and I was working in the office in the morning and the stones the afternoon. And when bending down to pick up the stones, the infection in my face was really hurting. So I went to Baba and I asked if I could work in the office for the whole day instead of going to the stones. And he got so angry and yelled, "No, you go to the stones." Yeah, and so I was so mad. And I went down to the dorm. I was staying under his room and I had a little temple in my cupboard and I took it all down. And I said, you know, you're not nice. I said some swear words to him too. And then I was like, okay, Om Namah Shivaya, go down to the stones. That's what you're here for. So I went. And that day he came down the stairs and he called me over and I'd had this big tantrum. So I really thought I could get hit or something. I didn't know what was going to happen. And he said, "You're no work today. You come with Babaji." And so I spent the afternoon sitting at his feet and watching everybody else work. And I felt so stupid that I had this tantrum thinking I knew what was going to happen, you know, and I didn't have faith at all that he was going to give me the afternoon off. And I had a little tantrum. So it was a big teaching for me that to have faith in him and trust that he will take care. Yeah.
See, yeah, it is about trust and faith.
Yeah.
It's mhm.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
So,
Can I say something about it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, can I?
Yeah. Who is
Yes,
it?
please.
Okay, yes. I hear this, talking about being in a moment and also the examples. And I experience these moments too, very, very nice. And I do my sadhana practice. But I notice there are moments throughout the day that it is very hard because something is touched inside of me, you know, like you see something like injustice or the examples you describe are like, oh, I was looking out of the window and there were birds, and these are all very nice surroundings, very nice moments. But when I see an animal suffering or I see suffering, then I feel inside is something stirring up, like what can I do to help, or what can you know? Then there is a lot of movement inside. Then there's not this in the moment thing going on. So I thought it is very good to practice these moments. Also to be in the moment and to do my japa or my mantra. And I had been sick and it was not so bad, but then it became bad. I had increasing fever, and all the time I was sick, I was okay. You know, I had to stay in bed, but so then the fever increased, and I was like, this thing was inside, like, oh my God, fear, and oh my God, I hope I do not have to go to the hospital. So I'm totally out of the moment. I'm totally out of this trust and faith. And this took some time, and then I thought, I have to switch it. I have to turn it upside down, or another, I have to make a switch. So I did japa, and I thought about, I looked at Babaji. He was next to the bed. So, and then I had this not totally awake, and he was at my feet, and he was holding my feet. And maybe it was just my mind creating this, I'm not sure, but he was holding my feet, and it totally turned around. I was totally like, well, everything's fine. And then I thought, but it cannot be possible that he's holding my feet, you know, it cannot be possible. And then I saw all the devotees, the Dutch devotees, in a line holding my feet, one by one. And I was in total peace. Of course, I was sick and I didn't feel very well physically, but I was in total inner peace. So I managed to get at this moment. But that is my question. What do you do? You know, I understand you describe these moments of like, oh, it's so beautiful. But what do you do when it's like you see injustice or you see something that really stirs up your inner peace or that really makes a lot of dust going on? So that is my question, because I think that's the hardest moment to do that. But maybe I answered it already by my
you did.
Maybe I did it. But
Surrender. It's all God's will.
surrender. But maybe we can
Yeah,
share some things to help each other out. To help each other with these.
Yeah, we think the nice things are God's will and the bad things are not God's will. So it's really all God's will. And our surrender completely gives us that freedom that you say. And I know when it's challenging, I had in building this house here in Russia, it was so challenging with the Russian mentality and stealing and funniness and drunken workers. And it was very challenging, but this is God's will. This is the training I get from Babaji, to deal with this situation. And it's the movie. It's not really real. It is just some drama. Babaji is Shakespeare. He organized this for me today. And it's for my, I don't know, practice of surrender, accepting Om Namah Shivaya. You've answered it yourself so beautifully.
Oh, yes, I think so. It was because I could speak it out loud. So I realized while speaking, oh my God, it is, yes, was already there.
Yeah.
So
sometimes we have to hear ourselves speak something out, and then we realize things.
I also like to add about your question about the Kriya Yoga, because I do the Kriya Yoga. I practice that. And I read I do not remember what book, I read that Babaji said, when somebody asked him about it, that he said, from the moment we are born, our mind is already totally mixed up. So that's why in this day and age, like Pujari said, it's better to do the karma yoga. That's what Babaji said. But he also said to a devotee who was practicing Kriya Yoga, he said, no, you just do. You know, it's good, you just do it. So it's not like you shouldn't do it or you can do it. It's just...
But what is it exactly? Because there are so many books on Kriya Yoga, and a lot of people just talk about Kriya Yoga, but you cannot have a demonstration, a real demonstration of Kriya Yoga. At least I have not come across any.
Yes, that is because
demonstration.
You have to do the initiation first,
Yes.
and then they show you what you do for your practice. And they do that, and you can only share it with others. You really have to sign a paper. You can only share it with others if you have had your third initiation. And they do that because they want to keep it pure. They don't want.
I think that Kriya Yoga comes through in various ways. Kriya Yoga comes through. It's spinal energy. Kriya Yoga is spinal energy. Some people are talking Kundalini, some people are talking Kriya. No one own it and hold it. It's spinal energy. And it's not too difficult to get spinal energy moving.
Yeah, absolutely. it is spinal energy, and they want to keep, you know, nowadays people do a course in something and they make their own course, or they mix things, and that's what they absolutely do not want it. They want to keep it exactly as it was taught by Lahiri Mahasaya. So they don't want anything other involved, or somebody saying, oh, but I mix it with Hatha Yoga, or I mix it with this or that. So that's kind of a protection. That's why they do
But
it.
we are free to mix it. We are free to mix it. Satya Saralata Prem. Babaji give us so much freedom. I find it amazing. Just we can be who we are, even the rebel, whatever. I love it, love it. I'm from England. I just want to say, is everybody aware that in England, a piece of land was bought?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. If we could have your blessings and good wishes, thank you.
Well,
Definitely.
and we're hoping that we're planning that next week, the folks that have purchased that land and are involved will be on the satsang and telling us more about it. So we hope you'll be here too.
Oh, thank you very much. I will. Satya Saralata Prem.
Yes.
Thank you.
You know,
I would.
Can I say something? Oh,
Okay.
Can you hear me, or do I do anything?
Yes.
You can hear me. Oh, okay. Well, it is a mix of reactions to what Gayatri said and Pujari. Let's do the one of Dina Reis first. Dina Reis was in Zwijvenalp, and it was just after Chernobyl. And I went to her and I said, Dina, I have a problem. And she looked at me before I could voice my problem. She looked at me and said, you don't have a problem. And that was it. And I kept that with me all the time. If I see problems, of course, in my life, but then when she comes in, then I know I have no problem. It is like whatever God's wishes are, that this is the task in front of you, and you just deal with it. It is not a particular problem. You just deal with what is given. And that was that. But what about Babaji? What I loved about Babaji was that he was everywhere. When I was working, we were working with the stones. He would come and see what was doing. He would chat with somebody. He would give directions. And he was not like these distant gurus that, like Sai Baba, where you had to, or whatever, you know, all these gurus, you had to stand in line. He was there everywhere, every day, every moment, so to speak. So it's either, you can say it's the japa, but when you want to be in the here and now, then Baba made you in the here and now. If you remember him being there, he is there. And he was in the Duni, I remember. I've been coming to the Duni, and there was this tripod on the fire. And there was a pan on this tripod and the fire, and he was baking potatoes in the Duni. And I thought, oh, how very sweet. I mean, it's so homely. He made things so simple by being there cooking, baking potatoes. And another time I came to the Duni, and I came up to the last steps, and there was Babaji, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and his eyes were pitch black. And his eyes actually told me, you can step right into me. You can step right into me. And I couldn't, I didn't, but what he said was, you have a place inside of me. That's what it is. You can step right through me. You have a place inside of me. And that is Baba's grace. I wouldn't have been here without it. And this is it is my place in this lifetime to be with him and at his feet. So that is what I was what I was reminded of by listening to Gayatri, particularly, and knowing that and seeing Babaji everywhere. He just was there, and I do have to remember that, and it's wonderful to remember it now again. He is always there. Simple as that.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
I have
I had a teacher, speaking of the upset, because that really got me inquiring after, and then you said about when you are confronted with things that really upset you. And I had a time when I was just really upset. And I went to a teacher. I was in a retreat with a teacher named Unmani. And I went to her just completely freaking out. And she said, well, just remember what you truly are is completely untouched by this. And it hit me like a brick. Here I was so upset that to add into the ingredient that there's a part of me that is completely untouched. I was not aware of that part at all. And it reminds me of how I'm not sure it was Jesus said, lest you become like children, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. And that I mulled over very often in my life. And at first I thought, oh, well, we have to be playful and loving and happy. But no, I think he really meant like a newborn, because a newborn, if you put this is very helpful for me anyway, when I see injustice and I start to freak out, I'm like, what would the newborn me be doing? And a newborn is completely in the moment with no thought association to whatever sound or touch or what they're seeing, nothing. They're just living it all in that moment. It's just all experience for them. And so I really believe that lest you become like children, to get to the point where you're experiencing that without all the conditioning and patterning and all the stuff coming in. So maybe it helps if in the moment where you're really finding you're upset and the mantra isn't doing it, just bring yourself to that newborn stage and live it as you did in a little bassinet with your little diaper on, I mean, it helps me anyway, to really, because when we came in, we were that pure consciousness in form, and it was slowly chipped away by everybody else coming to tell us to, happy when we smile, not so happy when we cry, and all that stuff started to happen to us. But in that natural state, we were just present, experiencing. And so maybe when that upset happens, just, okay, how would the newborn me be in this situation? That maybe is a help.
Yes, thank you.
Not sure, but try it out.
Thank you. Yeah, that's very nice what you say. That's really very beautiful. Yeah. But there's still a question then. So it's about acting, the combination with it, like acting on the situation, like you can find this inner peace back and this surrender, but from there you can act. Like I pray to Babaji when I see this horse suffering, I think, okay, what can I do? And then I first find this inner peace, this surrender, this Om Namah Shivaya, but then I pray to Babaji also, like, how can I act? Can I help this horse? I can say, okay, it's the karma of the horse, or I can let go, like that. So it's not just words or praying or japa or talking, but we act also, like Pujari said, I build a house. It comes from somewhere.
Yeah, it's just, I think the same, it's just to not block ourselves. It relates to the little child that Gayatri speaks about, to be as natural as possible, respond. If you feel to cry, great. If you want to jump, great. If you want to, whatever you do, to do it as natural as possible. But it's okay to respond, because it's not really you responding. It's just some entity finding balance and harmony with your surrounding. And it's, yeah, a child has no problem with responding naturally. And if we want to respond rightly, we make it really difficult for ourselves and unnatural almost. I don't know if I'm trying to word it correctly, but it's like, let me say again, just a natural response. If we can come to that balances, that looks for harmony automatically. Like Babaji was that great being that he was always connected with everything naturally. And he was with a stone, with a dog, with all these beings around him in such a beauty and harmony and a natural, yeah, like a child, but with an incredible consciousness. And that's our inspiration. It's very beautiful how Gayatri expressed this childlike state. For me, Babaji was that. Only it had a supreme consciousness, aware of everything what's going on the world. So we are learning to respond naturally, also in difficult situations. It doesn't really matter how we express ourselves. Slowly, we will do it divinely. But if we start rudely or beautifully, it doesn't matter so much. We have to just respond naturally. That's because I could also see in myself, I was quite restricted often in my life, and that's not so good. That's not, then I block presence a lot of the time. If I learn to flow more, it's so easy words, but it's almost a trick. You have to let yourself, don't take yourself serious. I took myself too serious. I can word it like this. And that's really an obstacle, because that is not really a Pujari. That is just presence. Let this body do what it does. It doesn't matter how I do puja or how I pray or how I paint a room. It's just your natural flow. That is, Babaji was in that. He was, he never needed a time out. He was always in that natural flow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
You need a bit of humor.
I think
I think
I have a
it's
story.
Makan had his hand up, and then we can go back to Hiroman. So go ahead, Makan. It's good to. So some people don't know Makan. He's also a longtime devotee, lives in Colorado. And maybe some people don't know Karkuli, who spoke earlier, whose her camera shows Dai. I won't even try to pronounce it. From
D.
Holland.
It is D, yes.
And
Kakuli.
excuse me,
Yeah.
D.
Yeah.
And she's from Holland, a longtime devotee. So go ahead, Makan. Happy to have you here.
Yeah, it's great to see everybody. It's really good. I just have a story. Ramlota's heard the story before, but many of you haven't. About being a child, to see God. It was during one of the big festivals when I was in Hedekon, and there was a big feast being, and I was walking toward the feast, which was on the Gufa side, and I was walking through the garden, and everybody, and I was late, that because I was also running the restaurant, and so I had to clean up. And anyway, everybody else was already eating, and I was walking through the garden, and nobody, and I was alone. And all of a sudden, I saw Babaji in the garden, and he didn't see me at first. At least I didn't think he saw me. And and what he was doing was he was doing this little dance for the flowers and in the garden. He was prancing from plant to plant and talking to them as like a little pixie, you know. And I had never seen him move like this. He's a very heavy, big-bellied man at that point, and yet he was doing that dance, and I was like astounded, of course. And he finally looked at me, and then he kind of composed himself, raised himself up, and he came over to me and said, "You go eat now." You know, like, you weren't supposed to see that. And so it took me many years to figure out why that happened, what he was, and it's taken me actually many retellings to see that that was not for anybody but me, and that he was telling me that, and getting me to remember that I have a place in movement, you know, and I eventually became a yoga teacher, and now I'm becoming a Tai Chi teacher. I love to dance,
Satsang.
you know, and so
practice, okay?
So, you know, he gave me license to be a child in many forms of movement, which by giving me that dance. And I saw him being playful in many other ways, but that was the one that was really just for me. And I always will remember that.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Beautiful.
Have you tried that? Have you tried a dance like that?
I'm a dancing fool. You should see me.
Yeah, good.
I become like 20 years younger when I get to dance. So yes, the answer is
I've
yes.
seen him dance like that when he didn't know I was watching.
Go ahead, Hiroman. You had something to share as well?
I think it's important that we realize that when we're being in the moment, we're not avoiding anything. We're not avoiding being in the world. We're actually being in the world. We're not avoiding conflict or uncomfortableness or discomfort. We're experiencing it in a new way. Babaji told me when I was 4 years old, the very first thing he ever said to me was, "Don't be afraid, you're my warrior." And I think we're all his warriors. We need to change this world. And it's not the I that's changing this world, it's the we. We're a part of the change in this world. So when we see injustice, we don't turn a blind eye to it. When we see somewhere where we can help, we don't not help. We're not avoiding anything. We're not losing ourselves in action. We're actually finding ourselves.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
What has been said reminded me of a dream I had. It was a very nice dream. I dreamt I entered in an ashram. And this ashram was a beautiful mixture between Cilianola and Cisternino, in the sense that it was two-story with the inner courtyard, only smaller. The courtyard with all these beautiful arches is Mediterranean style here, architecture, full of devotees. And in the middle of the courtyard, there was a long table for the people to eat, maybe 12 meters long, something like that. And so I was there, we went inside in a room, everybody was there. It was a very joyful atmosphere. And then all of a sudden somebody comes and said, come, Baba has arrived, Baba has come back, Baba has come back. So we all ran outside, and there it's Baba comes out of the room and he jumps on this table, and he had a beautiful silk golden curtain pajama, shining, changing, and he starts walking up and down this table, and he was looking at us with his eyes, and he said, Baba, you came back, and he said, I couldn't stay, I love you so much, I couldn't stay away from you. And so we were like cheering, wow, Bole Baba ki jai, Bole Baba ki jai. And then he goes to one end of the table and we all gather there, and then he very quickly, he turned and ran and jumped down from the table, goes inside. So I follow him, we all follow him, and I arrived in a little hall, like a narrow hall, and he was sitting on a bed like his kuti, his little room there. And so I was maybe the 8th, 9th in the row. So the first one was just on the door looking. The second one was bending a little bit to look over his shoulder. The third one was bending, the fourth. So I was bending a lot to be able to see Baba. And then I felt behind me a presence. And I turned and Muniraji was sitting there, his back to the wall and his eyes down, totally concentrated on Baba. So Baba is this presence. Sometimes I have the feeling that by trying to look at him, I miss him.
Mm.
It's very tricky. It's very tricky, this job that they gave us, you know, because this consciousness that it was make us feel that we are alive. It's our only tool to go to Baba, but at the same time, it's a trap. It is very tricky, this thing. So that's why it's so very difficult to, I think, to have that switch, you know. It's really a grace. Now, sometimes there is this feeling, no, that by going to look for him, we miss him completely. And then, Anemui, I wanted to tell you something about what you said is very right, no? But we get tested, no? To see if we have understood, we get tested. So we have to go through hardships. It's very important because you cannot know if you have really learned something if you are not tested. And tests are always, almost always painful. And it's very important that we face them.
Ramlota, can I say something?
Yes, Joanne, I just want to find you. Go ahead.
Going back with what you said, Hiroman, about warriors, when I was there the last 3 months before he left his body, there were some people, there were lots of people coming in and out of the ashram, and these devotees, well, they weren't devotees, but they were spiritual sightseers. And they went up to Baba and they said, oh, well, Baba, what do you think of Sai Baba? Because they were on their way to go see him, right? They were just going all over India. And he said, Sai Baba trains Samaritans, I train warriors.
Oh.
And both is good. Both is good. Samaritans good. Warriors good.
Can I say something?
What is good? I mean, you know, I think in a way we get so caught up in judging things and rating things, but what is good? You know, good is what each of us finds in our hearts, the deepest, most innermost part of our being. We have different practices, we have different religions, we have different skin colors, we have all these differences, but to me, what is good is what we share in being humans and trying to become more human. That's good.
I just wanted to say something. Somebody is trying to ask a question on the chat, asking if Babaji mostly spoke in Hindi or in English.
He
I'm
didn't
just.
speak most of the time.
Okay.
I mean, to me, if he needed to talk, it was English, but it was kind of Tarzan English. You go, you hopeless, you this, you that. It was kind of, you know, not full sentences. With Indian devotees, who speak in Hindi. So sometimes even Italians, he'd give them a word or two in Italian, and yeah. But most of the time he wasn't speaking.
I hear
Not-
the stories from in the beginning, Gayatri, that Babaji spoke with some saintly people and in a language which was completely almost too old to be still alive. So Babaji knew very, very old languages, were not even used anymore in India. And at the same time, he could speak in any language, but he often didn't waste much time on language. It's just he used very short Twitter messages. You go, you come,
No,
you
go.
And also he would speak with terms that you would, you know, that were so eloquent that you wouldn't think. Like he said to Harak Singh once, you flower, me horticulturist. And this is back in the early 70s when, you know, it's so Babaji. I also heard him speak to some Tibetan monks that came once. They walked through Nepal to Harakan just to see him, and he spoke to them in one of the monks told me later it was in a language that was only in the old Pali scriptures that just had never been, you know, this monk was maybe the only one familiar with it, one of the few people in the world familiar with it, and Babaji spoke to him in that language. You know, so there was no he may have used Tarzan language for expediency, but he could speak any way he wanted to, in any, not just in words, but in the way he reached into each of us and spoke to us in a way that only each of us could understand.
I want to share a very recent experience about this, about language Babaji uses. Can I?
I think, one moment, Lalita, I think
Yeah.
Sita Theo has her hand up. I'm just trying to find you, but go ahead, Sita. Did you want to share?
Can people hear me?
Yeah. Yes, very well.
Okay, great. I just wanted to share a recent dream that I've had with Babaji, and hearing what Hiroman said about being an army, let's say, being the soldier of Babaji, and also it brings a little bit that issue of guilt that came up in the previous satsang quite a bit. So in that dream, and that's the recent, that's the latest I've seen of him, perhaps a little bit over a month ago. So I'm entering the kirtan hall in Harakan. It doesn't look like it, but it feels like it. And then people are standing, and he's also standing in a platform. And I kind of enter from the back, hoping not to be seen, somehow keeping in the back. And then he doesn't really use words to say it, but I will use words so I can share what happened. Something like, we need a karma yogi for this job. And then he points at you. He points at me, and then I jump, and then I say, oh my God, what did I do? What did I do wrong, right? So, and then he brings solace to the situation by implying we need a good karma yogi. I was like, okay, so, and then there was this family that had arrived in Herakan at that moment, and he had me enter in this room, and he said, you're meant to come here and cheer these people up. That was his, even though there were no words, but that's what I received. You're meant to cheer them up. And then I entered the room, and this family, it was when you enter a room and you go, oh my God, everything was off. It was dirty. They were how can I say, they were, some of them crazy, some of them depressed. It was just awful. These people, this family they were not allowed to do anything in Herakan except have a little bit of tea per day. And he was there, Babaji, and he had me watch him work. And at other times when I've seen Babaji in a dream, I shake completely. I'm like, yeah, I can hardly speak or be in that presence. But in that dream, it felt like normal. I could just sit there and I watched him work, and I didn't understand anything of the work that he was on that level. I didn't understand, but he was being there very, very present with the people. Like, I cannot put it into words. He was just sitting with them as if they were just doing their thing, and he was there being that presence with them. And then my hand was close to his hand. And as he was talking, or not talking, as he was being present with that person in trouble, my hand was just close to his hand. And then he passed his hand like this over my hand, and a wound that I had, I saw it being healed. Or then there was a wound, and then it became a scar afterwards. So, and then he left, and then there was a moment of like, oh, a little bit panic, what shall I do? And then I started to have some ideas. Maybe I should take these children in the river and wash them, and maybe I should clean this rug, open the window. So I had some cleaning karma yoga ideas going on, and I guess, and it feels like a very strong dream and message that has come, and over the days, you know, it integrates, and I guess it will take a few years or lifetimes, who knows. And yeah, and some of the things that come forth for me, at least, is like doing this sometimes challenging cleaning karma yoga works that I'm involved. That is my healing. That is my healing. And giving that permission to do these difficult works that sometimes I see myself in. I'm also somehow he's taking the guilt from it, that, oh, look at me, poor me, I'm doing this. Whereas another kind of work, like being Pujari, or I don't know what, is more, it's better, more pure, which is totally not the case, because everybody has its place, I suppose. So yeah, a mixture of the importance of karma yoga, that is healing, at least for me, and that presence of Babaji, of being with these people and teaching that back, and that guilt that I know I carry sometimes. And so yeah.
Thank you, Theo. Good.
Yeah. Bole Baba ki jai. Thank you for hearing me out. It's
beautiful.
Thank you so much. It reminds me, you know, with the karma yoga, I realized in Hiroman, one of my duties was to clean the rice. And, you know, you're taking out these little black stones that get mixed in and stuff, and you're just taking out the impurity so you can cook the rice. And as I was doing it, I just realized I had a moment of oneness. And in that moment of oneness, I realized that just picking out those little stones was having an effect in the whole world. And it was so big. I mean, it was in oneness. So I realized whatever I am doing is somehow affecting the collective. And so it also made me think, you know, when you want to respond to something out of duality, okay, you think the other is hurt or sad or whatever's going on, depressed, and you want to help them. So you're coming from a place of A, not accepting, B, not being in the moment, C, big one, duality, and an investment in changing it, because it somehow makes you uncomfortable if you admit it. So you want them to be okay so you can be okay. All of that. How can you heal or fix anything from that kind of mentality? If you look at it, you know, you're in dis-ease yourself, trying to help somebody else who's having something. So I find, like, you know, we have lots of things going on in the US right now that are very upsetting. But I look at the protests and I look at the energy going against the other energy, and I feel this isn't going to solve anything. It would be 10 times better to stay home and wash the dishes. That's how you're going to have an effect on this situation. To clean the house, to sweep, to, you know, whatever. Those actions, when you really tune in, are helping that situation, because we are all one. It's a microcosm of the macrocosm. So if you see something that needs to be changed or healed or fixed, to find real peace in yourself is helping that person. And then to do an action that does something to clean, to make a difference, you know, that's why work in the garden, all that's having an enormous, we don't see it in the moment. You might think it's selfish that you spent the day working in the garden. It's not at all. You're helping things grow and flower and bloom, you know, and that's why these very basic karma yogas Babaji had us do, of moving stones and creating gardens and cleaning areas, it was monumental. And we were like all little ants running around doing whatever, and it was having a huge effect on the world. I believe that. And so I really, you know, when you're really activated, it's better just to wash some dishes. You know, it's such a good thing for the world. And yeah, unfortunately, I have to run. I'm late for a memorial service. Oh God, not that the person who died would mind, but anyway, I gotta go. So I love you all, and I'll see you next week. Mwah.
Bye, Gayatri.
Jay.
Bye, bye,
Bye,
bye.
Gayatri. Bye.
Bye.
Joyful
Lalita,
being.
go ahead. But also,
Yeah.
go ahead, Pujari, and then I think Lalita had one more question.
No, I said there goes our
No
joyful
question,
being.
just an experience. Yeah.
Go, Lalita.
Yeah. So recently, I had this friend who does energy healing and everything, and I used to ask a lot of questions because I was new into, you know, japa and meditation, and I'm just 6 months old, okay? So I used to have a lot of questions, and I used to ask him, what does that mean? And I felt like this was the experience, what does that mean? And he used to say that when your time comes, you will get the answers. Okay, you just have to ask honestly to your guardian angels and your Brahmarishis or whatever. So I used to think, will I get the answer? Like I used to have this a little doubt inside of me. And one day I decided to ask him. I was having some pain in some part, and I just asked him, should I go to the doctor? Is there some blockage or something? You tell me. And he told me, you know, I could see a yellow paper inside my closed eyes, and in red ink it was written, get rid of your blockages and move ahead on your path. It was written. I could see it, and it was so powerful. So that made me realize, okay, I have to just, you know, ask him honestly, open up to him, and I'll get the answers. But then one day I was asking my husband that Babaji always talks in Hindi. Why does he talk to me in English? So he said, because you have gone to a private school. That's why. So one day I have this, you know, big wish of opening one small tea and cake shop at some place in hills, maybe Chiriana or something. And I closed my eyes and I asked Babaji, should I open that shop, Baba? And he disappeared in front of my eyes, DON. Okay. And at that time, it felt like he said, don't. And a little later, I was saying it could be, you know, DON done also, you know, in today's lingo. So these moments are really fun when he plays around with kids like me. Something to, yeah. So, yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. Bole Baba ki jai.
Bole Baba ki jai.
I don't know if it works.
Pujari or Hiroman, did you have more to add to any of these diverse questions and conversations?
I probably said enough. Let Ramlota and Pujari chip in.
Well, I
Or
can add a
anyone.
little bit on that level that Baba's communication was, language was one part, but his non-verbal communication was much more attractive, much more beautiful, much more direct, and like presence to presence, that kind of, yeah, you sit in front of a flower and you talk with a flower. That kind of relation is also with Babaji, you know, mostly it was that his energy, it doesn't have to be through his eyes, just his energy, but also through his eyes. Or on the moment I would have some inner experience, he would throw an apple at me. It was obvious that he was aware of everything what was going on inside me. So he didn't have to tell me from, yeah, no, there were always a lot of non-verbal communication, and that was the most also overwhelming because we are not used to that. But at the same time, we had to learn that most of the communication we do, even if I go here to my little village shop, I hardly speak the language. So most of my vibrations with the people, it's still lovely that I don't speak so much because I have to sense the people. And that is, I love it. You don't have to activate too much your mind. You just sense what's going on. So that's the biggest part of Babaji, but also his beautiful expressions of how he would be painting, or his creative expressions, or how he took my bouzouki, he took a guitar, he took playful. He did not really seriously play anything, but he would pick up all the music things, showing that music is a beautiful channel to connect with the divine. That's for J3. He took an harmonium, he took anything. No, he could not seriously play, but he would show us that instruments, music is a beautiful way to commune, to play, to talk with the divine, or talk with him, however you want to mention that. And at the same time, art, how he would be painting or doing weaving. Yeah, I want to just express that. That was Baba's way of communicating. He did it himself, or cooking, what they said, cooking potatoes. I saw him make on a little stove vegetable dish. He happily make a little vegetable dish and then call some people and share, eat this vegetable dish. It is such a sweet feeling, and that kind of joyfulness, what he was doing, anything, you know, if it was cooking or painting or communicating with us or picking up a tambourine. Babaji was, in this way, he didn't teach like a normal teacher. He was just a live example of divine, how human beings can divinely be happy and live on this planet. I'm sure Hiroman has more to say about that kind of communication.
Ramlota, you have a lot to say about that too, I bet.
Perfect, Pujari.
Well, actually, no. What it was clear that Baba can speak any language he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the language of the heart.
Yeah, of course. But I know for sure that he spoke in Italian to some friends of mine, Italians. He spoke fluent Italian, perfect. A few words, a sentence, but perfect Italian because they didn't speak English. So he communicated with them with the language they knew. I think he tries to communicate with us with the language we know, we can understand.
Mm-hmm. I think also Jayshree had her hand raised. Jayshree, I'm looking for you right now.
Can you hear?
I can hear you, Jayshree, and I can hear you too. Thank you.
So I had a question to Pujari. You say in the beginning about the Karma Yoga is the most important in this time. So how do you see, for example, the Aarti, the fire ceremony next to the Karma Yoga? Like, do you see it less important, or do you feel it's coming together?
Yeah. Of course, there is not really a difference. Like in the same, like everything is Kriya Yoga, everything is also Karma Yoga. If we talk, if we cook a meal, slowly, like as a Pujari, I've learned that everything is puja. Everything, every minute I'm doing puja. It's not only if I wash the feet of Baba or if I touch a murti or touch anything. It is like the awareness that everything is God's or the mother's reality or I say creation. Everything is creation. So we are always only connecting with creation, which means the Divine Mother, everything. So if you touch a harmonium, you pranam almost to it and say, oh, this is a divine instrument. I'm now touching the divine, I'm praying to the divine. But of course, work is also not I am doing. That's how it starts. Like Hiroman said, we start with an I. We think I am giving talk or satsang or I'm playing harmonium. For you, playing harmonium is not, you're not doing anything. You will come to the place that you feel that the bhajan is singing you. I've had many experiences that I'm not even singing. I'm observing. I don't know who's singing. It's magical, but you will get that experience that the bhajan is singing you, or the arti is singing you, or the instrument. I've seen myself as a chimta in Baba's time. I said, who's playing? It's amazing. This thing is moving. I have no sense that I'm doing anything. And that is the magic. If we get, like Baba said, if you want to serve me, you have to get out of the way. So if you want to do really karma yoga, you have to get out of the way. Like the tree is doing karma yoga, but he's not, I'm growing, you know. But this illusionary I, through karma yoga, we have to dismantle this illusionary, I am playing harmonium, I am a Pujari. We like, again, Hiroman said, we start there because that's our education, that we have become somebody. But slowly we realize, hey, wait a minute, is there really somebody? Who's breathing? Who is singing? From where did that voice come? A nice one, such old Sasiji told me that when we like blow out the candle, we ask, but where did the light go? So those kind of questions is the ultimate thing. From where, if your body stops breathing, what happens? No, do you understand this miracle? Can we find the core of that reality? So again, karma yoga is a practice to dismantle this illusionary I, J3, Pujari. It's very illusionary.
Yeah, you become the observer, observing your I.
Yeah, you realize your nothingness, and to melt, like Gayatri many times, this oneness experience, if you're gone, you're gone. That is not really me. And we can, as a human being, have that experience, that this whole identity drops away for a long time or short time, and then you deeply understand many things at once, if that happens to you. Yeah.
The thing I wanted to say, for example, these days, if I don't have time for practice because I'm helping my mother and it's more important. So I know at 11 I have to make a juice for her. I want to help her. I want to, So I know that I'm waking late because things happen and I miss and I didn't do my arti, I didn't do my japa, all these things. But I feel that it's more important to do the action, to go and help her and to be, focused in that, than the other things sometimes. I feel it now, like these days. And yeah.
Well, that was like this also in Arakan in Baba time. Sometime, I don't know, a truck arrived at night full of things and we were singing arti and Baba sent us all to to take
And,
the work. You
yeah.
know, the work service is always the first place in Baba Sadhana.
Okay.
Then adoration. Yeah.
So go ahead. You had a question, Lalita? Lynn?
No question.
Lynn, oh, you
I
had
can
your
continue.
hand raised, Lynn.
Yes, yes. I'm Lynn Diwali. I'm Lynn Diwali. I was given this name in Raniket.
Can't find a place.
I say something quickly. I'm loving what Pujari is saying. We are always in puja. Then we are listening to a teacher from Andes Mountains. Of course, I love about Himalayan Lord Shiva, but we're listening from Andes Mountains.
Okay.
The teacher says, we are always in ceremony. We are always in ceremony. Then people ask, explain. We are always in ceremony. He says, yes, always we are in ceremony. And this is what I feel Pujari is saying so beautifully. Thank you.
It is a holy ceremony. Yeah. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Satya Saralata Prem.
Mhm. I can tell one quick story of a Pujari that was here at the ashram taking care of our beautiful Divine Mother on a regular basis. This was years ago. But after she left the ashram, she got a job at a senior citizen home with elderly women. And she said that as she was, you needed to put lotion on their feet and help them put their socks on or their nylons on and their shoes. And she said she suddenly realized that she had learned how to do this by being Pujari with so much love and devotion that everyone, like you said, is the divine. And so the practices I feel like we do is really to help us learn to just focus and to realize that everyone is the divine, so that when we go out, and I remember I was Pujari for I've been mostly Pujari here, but there was a time when there was a lot of workers here and one gentleman wanted to be Pujari. And so I let him be Pujari and we needed a cook. So I became a cook and there was about 6 or 7, many Europeans. I was making bread every day and just cooking. And I realized that it was no different than being Pujari. It was the same thing. I was cooking for God and we're all God's children. And so I really think that's so important for us to carry, is that everything we do is service to the divine. And we don't need to judge or to make a differentiation or say, this is better to do. Just like you're saying, Jayshree, if it's to serve Mama right now, that's fine. And then Baba will give me the time I need to do my music or whatever it is. So it's beautiful. So anyone else has anything to share or ask?
I like to share a dream. And I thank you for sharing what you just shared. It's really, really beautiful. And I like to share a dream I had many years ago about Babaji. In the dream, he was on a kind of porch. It was a place like an ashram. There were a lot of people. It was very warm. And all the people were very happy and they were doing karma yoga and everything. And I think I had just found Babaji in a way. I hadn't been a devotee for so long time. So I was on a safe distance from him, and he looked at me, but I was afraid to look at him. I couldn't look him in the eye. And I felt a little bit bad about it because I saw people around him who were very friendly with him and familiar and easygoing with him. And I was on this distance. So then he walked down to a kind of field, and there were people sitting, doing vegetables or other work. And I saw from my place where I was that he had a bucket, and he made a big, I think you call it a scoop or something, in the air with his bucket. And he poured it over a woman who was just sitting there doing something. And I couldn't see what was in the bucket, what came out of it. And again, he did that, and over somebody else. He poured it out over somebody else. So the people were not really noticing that he was there doing that. They were just continuing like with their work like he wasn't there. And I was so curious about, I had to know what was in the bucket. What is he doing? So I went a little bit closer and closer and closer. And then finally I was close enough to see it was love. He was making it full of love and then pouring it over the person.
Beautiful.
And, that was the dream. Yeah. Yes. Bole Babaji Jay.
Hey, Joe.
Okay.
Perhaps we can wrap up now. If anybody, Pujari or Hiroman, Ramlota, or anyone wants to just share something, Karkuli, before we say goodbye.
It came to my mind one beautiful story that Karku told, that there was this man who had to leave Herakan. So he went up to Baba and said, Baba, I'm leaving. And so Baba blessed him and all is well. And he turned and he made 5-6 steps. And then he stopped and turned back. He said, Baba, the idea of leaving you is already killing me. I miss you already. Where can I find you? Baba answered, I am in your every breath, in the first impulse of the heart, before the first thought. That's so beautiful. So we don't have to look very far.
No. You have a place inside of you.
Yeah.
So beautiful, that story. I always remember it when I miss him.
Thank you again for sharing. That's so beautiful.
Bucket of love.
Anything else?
I'd like to just share that I think what, well, it's hard to say anything after what Ramlota just said. It's that pretty much fills every space. I think that Pujari was talking earlier about how Baba gave us that stillness, to direct experience of stillness that we could carry into our, not just our day, but into our lives, and that he gives us glimpses of where we can be in order to inspire us to be there. And those, it's like we're expanding our window of tolerance to experiences in life without losing ourselves. And those glimpses are what inspire us and help us to remember that we're practicing until it's not practice anymore.
I'd just like to chime in with a big bow of gratitude and Om Namo Shivaya to everybody. I love the stories. And I love, Babaji used to say, puro, puro. This is be inspired. And the sense that we, sitting in circle, get to be a fire of inspiration for each other. So yeah, just a deep bow of gratitude to everybody. Very fun. Very fun to hear these stories and to see my old sisters and brothers. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
With you, Matt.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, I would like to just one thought for Hargovind.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I had two Babaji dreams days after he died. It was a crazy, I mean, this is part of what we are part of, but yeah, I think Hargovind's heart is much missed. And yeah, thanks for that.
Yep.
Yeah, but now in Shivaloka, full bhajans again.
Yeah.
He is out of trouble.
For sure.
We are still.
Yeah, yeah, we're still.
Hope so.
So
Yeah.
thank you to everyone for joining today. Really lovely to have
Hi, this is Rita. Ramloti, this is Rita. I'm on the phone. I'm on these calls, but I'm on the phone, so nobody knows I'm here. But I just want to say I am so honored listening to Pujari and Hiroman and Ramlota. And this is so important, what is happening here. It's so inspiring. And Ramloti, I acknowledge what you're doing. This is just thank you all and you know, bless you all, and just real honored to be on this call.
Thank you, Rita. It is a very
Yes,
special place, and we're reading the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam, and they talk about that during the Kali Yuga, a lot of the munis, the people who were spiritual aspirants, learning and practicing, they went to Brahma and said, you know, where can we go during this Kali Yuga? Because we're, you know, it's going to be really difficult. There's not going to be a lot of light and goodness. And he said, go to this special place where I'll throw my discus. And it's called the Vana Namisa or something like that. So they're there during the Kali Yuga. And I always think when we're in these kind of satsangs like this, that we've created that space where we can go for nourishment and guidance and inspiration. So I'm so grateful that you're all here, and it's a special time. So thank you everybody for being here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ramloti. Thank you for everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for organizing this. Love you.
Same time, same place next week, and we'll be learning hopefully more about the England land that's been purchased and coming up. So
Okay, right.
Okay, see you next week.
Happy.
Happy. Be happy.
Om Namah Shivaya. Bole Baba ki jai.
Bole Baba ki
Yay.
jai.